Hi everybody, this is Arun and I just want to quickly demonstrate how we can ventilate 4 patients or 3 to 5 patients on a single ventilator. As we all know that it's very easy to connect the patients to a ventilator. That's not an issue, but it has not been successful or it's not practical even to do it because we cannot individualize either pressure or tidal volume to each patient, and anytime anybody's compliance changes or lung dynamics change, um, it can cause more harm than good. But here I've tried something which may work, and again, this is not a substitute for single ventilator ventilation, but as we say, desperate times call for desperate measures, and there are places in the world we are running out of ventilators, and maybe this would help to save some lives. Let's see. So if you see here, what I have done is I have um, kept the ventilator on quite high pressure control, which is 40 over PEEP, and we'll see in a moment why I have done that. Rest all the settings can be changed um, according to need. So if you see the tubing, there are white tubing and there is blue tubing, and for convenience, blue tubing denotes inspiratory limb and white tubing denotes expiratory limb. So if we follow that, the blue tubing is um, connected to the ventilator with a T-piece, and here I'm demonstrating how to ventilate 2 patients, which can be, of course, um, increased to 4 patients or 5 patients. So um, the two blue tubings which go through the they consist of the inspiratory limb, and this tubing is connected to this box which you see is very simple to construct. And what this is basically a incentive spirometer um, inside an empty box. The reason it has to be inside the empty box is because we can only measure volume through the tubing of spirometer by inhaling, and here this is an expiratory limb, so therefore we need to connect the outside of the spirometer to this inspiratory limb. So if you look at the inspiratory limb, it's connected to this ball valve, which is very important and is key component for individual ventilatory needs of a patient and to maintain or change pressure or volume. This basically is connected to the box in an airtight manner, and inside it just opens inside the box. The tubing of the spirometer is connected outside in an airtight manner to the artificial lung, and again the spirometer, the tubing or the adapters are similar to the adapters in the ventilator, so it's easy to put the adapters in. It just has to be done in an airtight manner. Here I have used some rubber seals, but you can use anything. And again, this box may be optional too if we have to do, or we can have the option of uh, pressure control ventilation. This box, and with this these gauges, we can actually do either volume control or pressure control according to specific patient needs. So if you follow this blue tubing, it's connected to a Y connector, and then it is connected to a suction catheter, which is again a standard piece of equipment in the ventilators. And the reason it is connected to a suction catheter and then to the artificial lung is because through the suction catheter, I have connected this gauge. This gauge is what RTs use to measure cuff pressure. And the reason to use this gauge is it is very convenient, and it goes from 10 to 120 centimeters of water, which is helpful to measure the pressure. But you can use any gauge in here, including a mercury gauge, which I have done with the other lung, so that if you're short on these gauges or these cannot be found, we can just use mercury gauge. um, Mercury gauge just have to be converted to centimeters of water, which is a very simple multiple. So here, if you see, this gauge is moving with each breath, and the PEEP is 8, which this is denoting, and it's going to a pressure of around 24, which is the peak pressure. So in real time, we can monitor the peak and the peak pressure. Now again, um, please note that this peak pressure is much less than the peak pressure set on the ventilator. So that is the key thing. We can actually, with the help of this valve, change the peak pressure or the volume depending on what we are interested in. Now again, if we look at the second tubing now, the second tubing is connected to the other artificial lung through, again, similar valve. I have not connected a spirometer in here because again, because of time constraints, I could not make one before releasing this video. But it can be connected in a similar way, which I have connected before. And if you see, this is a second artificial lung, which is now again connected in similar way to a sphygmomanometer. And the sphygmomanometer, the only difference is it is measured in mercury, so therefore we have to convert it into water. But if we don't have the gauge to measure cuff pressure, we can use this gauge. And again, I would change the valve to demonstrate that how easily we can individualize pressure or volume to a patient. So I have opened the valve a little. If you see, the volume has already increased in the second lung, and if you see, the peak pressure also would increase. So the peak pressure would increase here. It's almost going to 32. And if you see on the other artificial lung, the peak and the PEEP stay the same. So by keeping higher amount of peak pressure on the ventilator and keeping resistance through the use of this valve, we can actually change pressure or volume individually with a single ventilator. And this is the key to ventilate multiple patients with a single ventilator. Also, there are some caveats, of course. This is no substitute for a single ventilator on multiple patients, and as I said, desperate times call for desperate measures. This may be useful when we are running out of ventilators and till we get other ventilators, or if we don't have any option. Of course, as you can see, PEEP cannot be changed in individual patients and there are many other parameters which cannot be done appropriately in different patients, such as pressure ramp and inspiratory time, etc. But the at least we can ventilate few patients for some time um, with this method, with individual tidal volume and pressure control, which was not previously possible. Also, I would like to mention that the um, way incentive spirometer is designed, it will not work unless it has a one-way valve ahead of it, as any back pressure to incentive spirometer from the expiratory limb from the ventilator would not give accurate volumes. So that needs to be taken into consideration. There are also small caveats here and there, but overall this circuit works. And please feel free to um, um, ask me any questions or any comments or suggestion to make this better. I would also like to reach out to our engineering colleagues and medical personnel to see if this can be improved, or if they have any ideas to improve it further, so that we can help those countries, especially who are running out of ventilators. And hopefully none of you is in this scenario, but uh, um, if we do run out of ventilators, maybe this can um, save the day. I will This was a very crude video done in um, time constraint manner. I'll try to post something more clear and with clear diagrams soon. Thank you very much.